Okay, remember we are in problem formulation. We are going to the last part today, which is part 3. To problem formulation part 3, which is our last part for problem formulation before you come to your assignment 2. Right. So remember what we were doing. We are trying to identify the problem or the research gap. And the next stage is, so we try to identify the problem. One way is by doing the pyramid or the inverted pyramid or the triangle. And the next part will be to write down the parts which are part of your chapter 1 of your proposal or chapter 1 of your thesis. So chapter 1 will consist of this problem statement, purpose statement, hypothesis, if necessary, search question, objective, scope, significance. So you're going to see this later, more of this, but this is how they are connected to one another until the conclusion. Of course, the conclusion will be later when you complete your studies and you write your thesis conclusion. So you can forget the conclusion for the time being, but you bear in mind this is the conclusion that you're going to get. So we need to get the problem statement. All right. So one way of doing that, like we have seen, is to use the pyramid, the inverted pyramid. So once you get that, you write down in words what is this problem statement. Okay, in sentences, in paragraphs. And then you write a purpose statement. Purpose statement is not really very necessary. Sometimes people do have it, sometimes people do not have it. Okay, so you must have problem statement. Research question, objective, methodology. These are all wajib, compulsory. Purpose statement, hypothesis is just sunat, okay, which is so highly recommended. You don't have also can, but you have so can. Purpose statement, problem statement is actually the same thing. It's just saying that there is nobody done it, so my purpose is to do it. Okay, so that's basically they are related, very much related. It's just rewriting the problem statement in the purpose that what you want to do. This is what people did not do. Okay, they did not do anything, so I'm going to do it. So just rewriting of the problem statement that in how you want to do it. You see example just now, so people write something like that. And then from there you go to research question. Research question, I would say compulsory from the initial preparation of the objectives. But in your final thesis, in your proposal, yes. In your final thesis, even you do not have your research question, it's okay. So this during proposal stage, we want to see your research question. But your thesis later, you don't have to even write your research question, but you write it's also okay. But objective will be compulsory. No research is okay without no research, no thesis, no proposal is okay without objectives or without methodology. Okay. Conclusion will occur only in thesis, but not in proposal. Do not have conclusion chapter in your uh, conclusion chapter in your proposal. In thesis, of course, you have. So you see how they are related. Problem statement and purpose statement is, I say, one and the same thing. It's just a matter of rewriting. Research question is exactly pinpointing from the problem statement what are the unknown that you want to find. Because the problem statement just say nobody has done this. Okay, like for example, you remember John's work. Nobody has done work to find out the amount of sugar. The correct amount of sugar. So what's your specific objective, John? What you want to do? What you want to find out? And that's why he says that, okay, what is the unknown? John will say, will it work? Will it have an effect? So that's the question. See, so the question is, yeah, I want to study sugar. But the question is, will the amount of sugar have an effect? So that's first question. Question number 2, if it has an effect, what is the best amount, the optimum amount? That's question number 2. So you remember John's work is trying to answer those two questions. So his objective become how to answer research question 1 and how to answer research question 2. And then he make the methodology based on how to achieve the objectives. So these three are very much related. Okay. Right. So they are very related. From research question goes to objectives and methodology. Okay, so very, very much related. And of course, research question is related to, research question is related to problem statement. It depends on the problem. So what specific knowledge is missing from the problem set in the problem. Okay, then from there you write the objectives and methodology. Let's see an example here. So to write problem statement, write an opening statement that describes the general problem, explain the state of the art, and then identify research gaps. So it must be, however, there is no study. Like we have seen the example just now. Focus on the problem statement of the problem statement key concept being tested explored. So problem statement clearly states the actual gap in knowledge. It is not based on idea or feeling. We feel that this should be done, or this should work, and so on. But it must be a solid backing based on survey of current literature. Okay, your research is to fill this gap, solve the research problem. So if you fulfill this gap, that means you solve the research problem and you have your research contribution. That's the new knowledge. Remember the figure that I make, the human knowledge thing, and you are trying to concentrate on one here. So this is your problem statement. Yeah, the unknown. The statement is a bold, confident declaration of the knowledge gap or the unknown not covered by the current research. So you must have this bold, confident declaration. You must, like just now the student says, however, there is no, okay, you must say it. You don't even have to write, according to my knowledge, okay, according to the literature I have surveyed, there is, you don't have to write something like that, yeah? To the best of my knowledge. You don't have to write that. It means that we know that when you write that, it's the best of your knowledge already. So you must say, for example, there is little research, existing research at X, but does not account for Y. Okay, so you must be able to write something like that. So this is an example, real example. The above literature survey indicates. So remember, when you write the above literature survey, that means before this, there is already a section. You see, like example just now, a section on literature survey background. In the background, yeah, the background it says, oh, it's like this. People have done this. But finally, the above literature indicates so far there is no report of fabricating nanocomposite coating using graphene derived from waste material for corrosion prevention. Moreover, the work done by other authors in fabricating coating is limited and several areas still unexplored. Unexplored means still not touched, not done. Nobody has done it. So these are the areas. So from here, he's going to make the research questions and objectives. These are the specific thing that people do not have not done. Okay, so that's an example. Another example, previous works have shown that SSD is a versatile isolation device. Therefore, there is as described in Canal NATO, the PAC is significantly limited and so on. Additionally, okay, so first you see how this is written in version 2. Okay, it's not like the one at the end of the everything right one put right at the end. So you see that each one, except for this one, because these are example. You give example, it's okay. You put at the end. But when you put otherwise, it becomes a subject described by who, okay, who done this, according to who, and so on. So this is according to Kaping. Okay. Nevertheless, there has been a lack of research on the implementation of shell research to improve PhD performance in terms of low frequency vibration, attenuation. Okay. So lack of research is the declaration of problem. Okay. Previously, the unexplored. Okay. Here it's lack of research. Here, most study of retrofitting building use passive and active technique. And its potential. So this is based on previous the previous paragraph we were talking about the studies for retrofitting building. So now it comes to the towards the end of it. He says that most studies use this, but there is insufficient research on the optimal combination. Therefore, this is the purpose statement. Okay, the study will investigate this and so on. So this is more specific, yeah. So the best combination of passive active energy and so on. So this declaration is, to the best of my knowledge, there is insufficient research. Okay, you don't have to write it, but when you write that, it means you declare that you have done the study and you found out there is not enough research being done. Another example. There are other methods of reducing burr formation. 16, micro drills, continuous relation to geometry, and using custom micro drilling cells. Burr formation significantly decreases, so on. A reduced and optimal 2-point angle lowers the thrust intensity by drilling. A series of experiments by 20 were done to research, and so on. The experiment concluded that angles work better in prolonging instrument usability. However, despite such research progress, another key question remains unanswered. Okay, so that means that people do not know about this. There's knowledge missing here. Okay, can tool geometry minimize formation of burr? Okay, next, literature review in this section have presented a lot of work that has been carried out in developing low weight wash boats. However, almost all are mainly concerned with ferries and other high-speed marine crafts. Except for Fadil, 2010, there is not much work being done in the field of smaller, slower speed craft for inland waterways application, despite the fact that riverbank is more critical in river. In fact, there is not a single, I don't know what happened to this. Okay, not a single study that has addressed the issue for fishing boat. So the author is very, very brave, yeah? It's not brave, it's confident. Very confident that there is no study in this. So that's why I want to do it. You can imagine, or you can already predict what is his purpose. The purpose statement is, the purpose of this work is to look into fishing boat, weight wash. So it's all related to that. So far studies in the field of solar energy has focused on the infrared spectrum, although they have tried to investigate the use of the spectrum. Their works are limited to the range. This is no study near ultraviolet region with small wavelength. So there is no study. And then this one we have seen before. This is from, you remember the pyramid for VCO, virgin coconut oil. So much work has been carried out to do that. See, so it declares there. So this is summarized by these people. And then among the method is additives. So now you go down the pyramid into the funnel. And then from additive, go to vegetable oil as one of the additives. There are many additives, any type, by using vegetable oil. In vegetable oil, there are various vegetable oil. Okay, and one of them is corn oil. Okay, so this author wants to use virgin coconut oil, but it's not something out of the blue, you know. You cannot just suddenly think, yeah, I think I want to try virgin coconut. You must have an idea from another literature. So there is a literature here which talk about virgin coconut oil in steam boiler. right? So they found that combustion is good. Okay, now I have a basis for trying out VCO in diesel engine. So you see, so there is no research. So there's the strong declaration there that there is no research carried out to study the use of virgin coconut oil, right? So that's why the purpose of the research is related to that. So if this is the missing link, so the purpose is to connect the link. So I want to see whether this is okay or not. If I achieve my purpose, that means I complete my work, then there is this question no longer arise. Okay, so that's the issue. So I will open now for questions or comments on problem statement before we go to purpose statement. Any question, any comment? Right.
I think no, Prof.
Okay. Abot, you have something?
Yeah, Prof, is it recommended, for example, in the problem statement, uh, to support our points by some of the graphs, some of the figures?
Yes, it is highly recommended in the background before coming to this section on problem statement to have all those graphs and so on, results of other people. So some people reach, you can show some other people's result. They reach only up to here. So Mr. A did only up to here. Mr. B did this one. This is his result and so on. You see from the above all these figures, the thing that I show, then you come to this one or two sentences or paragraph for problem statement. So really, you must your problem statement must be based on facts. Yeah, so the facts can be from literature and showing their results, showing their work and so on. Then only you come to your conclusion for this problem statement, saying that what they've done is that, but then nobody has done this. Okay, so I think it's important to have that. I would encourage very much, especially when you write the background, to have figures, even general figures. For example,
Mhm.
somebody the other day was looking at something like, I don't know, the crash crash for vehicles, crash prevention or something behind lorries and so on. So if you do not give any figure, then people are trying to imagine what is it that you're talking about. So you put a general figure, just a general figure saying, oh, this is how it like. Somebody were to design and something, your work is about something like a boat or a ship, a special type, then you show what is so special about that kind of boat and ship and so on. So, so those general figures. If you talk about, for example, issue of uh, traffic accidents and so on, you may want to show some example of data from Department of Statistics or Road Traffic Department showing the issue about problem of road accident and so on. So that is the general background as we start the introduction. And then you go to be more specific into your literature. Okay, then you have more literature and research. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, so purpose, as I said, it is sunat. It's sunat muakkad is more recommended if you want to write it as a section. But normally people write just at the end of your problem statement section. At the end of it, you part. So there is a need to do what? The purpose of this study or the goal of this study, PM studies, right? So, for example, the purpose of this study to address this gap and so on, right? Purpose and not propose. Some person wrongly, right? So this is some example. The aim of the research. So you use either aim, purpose, goal. These are the three words that you can use. Okay. So having the aim of the research is to produce. The second one, the purpose of the study is therefore the goal of the study is having identified the research problem. The purpose of the study is uh, the aim of the proposed study is, so you can write something like this, which is which actually declare what exactly you want to do, right? Your scope of what you want to do. Okay, next, hypothesis. Not all research work require hypothesis. This is subject to argument, but in my madhab, my way of thinking, not all research require hypothesis, especially because hypothesis is important, is necessary when you are testing variables, connectivity, correlations, and so on. Yeah, relationship, correlation, and so on. But otherwise, it's a bit difficult to define hypothesis and finally test and so on. Yeah. So the normally we use in the experiment to show cause and effect. Cause and effect. Um, uh, Eating a lot of lemang during raya cause uh, diabetic, for example. It is a relationship. People thought like, oh, a relationship. So okay, the hypothesis is eating a lot of lemang cause diabetes. So you need to do experiment to check whether that works or not. And finally, you reject or accept the hypothesis. Okay, so in this case, for example, for John's work, for bread, yes, he require hypothesis because it's cause and effect. Will increase in sugar, uh, increase the bread size. That's a cause and effect, correlation. So because of that, you need to have hypothesis. But other research may not require specific hypothesis. You're looking at phenomena, how things work, and so on. There is no hypothesis involved. Yeah. So just you just look behavior of certain thing. Your research is about behavior of certain things, and so on. So there's no need for hypothesis. So if your research has this component or part of your research, it could be you have a few objectives. One objective is to find the relationship or to find the cause and effect. Then you may want to have put a hypothesis there. But otherwise, then there is no need for the hypothesis. Okay, research question is compulsory. Every research, regardless of field, method, approach, and so on, must have research question. Because research question is basically the same, not same, it's expression of research question in a more specific manner. So uh, it is focused on specific problem unknown and identify what can be measured at the end of research. Okay, so always write research question. This one I see many students make mistake here. Research question and objective must be written as numbered bullets. And numbered means Arabic number. 1, 2, 3, not I, two, I, and I, and so on. So it is Arabic numbered bullet. Because research question and objectives are specific names, real, proper names that will be referred to throughout the thesis. Maybe you are going to say in chapter 4, you are going to refer to objective 2. Okay, you say object according this part we have achieved objective 2. So how can you refer to objective 2 if you do not number your objectives? And research question. Research question 1 is objective 1 will answer research question 1. Okay, so they are directly related, so must be numbered properly.
Sorry, doctor.
Yeah.
When we are writing research question and research objective, so it just mean if you have two research question, we also need to have two research objective.
Normally, it is one-to-one mapping, but
Yeah.
sometimes from one research question, you divide into two objectives. Normally, objectives will be more than research. No, normally objectives will be exactly the same as research questions, but sometimes there'll be more objectives than research questions. Sometimes, but if possible, try to make it the same because they are supposed to be mapped to one another. We'll see example here.
Yeah. Thank you.
So for example, like this one. These are the questions. To what extent does changes in the half-form? This is the real issue at hand that people do not know. To what extent does changes in the half-form contribute towards the total coefficient? Oh, okay. People know something that could be certain relationship, but What extent? So that's why that's the one that we do not know in this research. How will changes in welding temperature affect the brittleness of the weld? Do some group of students spend more money at the cafeteria than other group of students? What is the best method for estimating wear period from satellite telemetry? Is the efficiency of the turbine affected by the overlap ratio? So these are the direct questions that we can find direct answer to them. And to find direct answer, we have the objectives. So this is So this is a problem statement. Remember John's work. Okay. So he refer to the literature, so fictional literature, and say that other people have done it. They have done fine white sugar and so on, but the actual amount of sugar, no one has been tested. So because of that, a lot of research has been done in this field. However, no research been carried out, study different amount. So that is his issue. So this is his problem statement. Repeat. No research has been carried out. And so what is his problem statement? What is his research question then? So can you suggest 2 research questions? So this is the problem statement. This is the purpose. Okay. So the problem statement is, so far no research has been carried out to study the effect of different amount of sugar to improve the size of grain mass bread. So the purpose of the research is to study the effect of different amount of sugar to improve the size of grain mass bread. So you see the purpose is very much related to the problem statement. It's just rewriting. You take the same words, you give, and it become the purpose. Okay. Hypothesis: using more sugar will result in bigger bread loaf. So because he's using the independent variable relationship, then we have hypothesis. Otherwise, it's not necessary. Now, what are his 2 research questions? Anybody want to say?
Can I suggest, Prof?
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe one of the research question is, what is this suitable amount of sugar to have a bigger size of grandma's bread?
Yeah. Okay. So that's one of the research question. And the first research, that could be the second one. Yeah. The first one is, will it have an effect in the first place? Okay. Okay. So he wants to study the effect, but when is there an effect? So that's why we see that the research question is, does the amount of sugar have an effect on the size of grandma's bread? And the second question is like what you asked just now. What is the amount of sugar that gives the biggest loaf? So the first thing is whether to check whether it has an effect or not. And the second one is to zoom in into what is the amount to give the biggest loaf. Okay? So that will, you see how the research problem, it cascade into the research question. Now from the research question, we want to cascade into objective. Okay? So if this is the question, I should ask you first, what is the objective? So those who have not seen it just now, what is the objective then? You convert from the research question to objective. Anybody want to answer?
Me.
Yeah, me. Me means who?
Hafiza.
Okay, Hafiza, okay, give an example. What should be the objective for research question number 1?
To determine amount of sugar has an effect on the bread size.
To determine
Amount of sugar has an effect on the
okay,
size bread.
to determine whether, okay, sama ada. To
Okay.
determine whether the amount of sugar has an effect. Okay, that's the first question. The first objective. Second objective, anybody has a suggestion? Orang lain pula. Anybody?
Bharathan, Professor.
Yes, Bharathan?
The amount of sugar needed to needed for the maximum loaf size.
So you need to have something in front. You cannot
Mm,
just the amount of sugar. You must be like just not to determine whether sugar has an effect on the amount of sugar has an effect on grandma's bread, right? So that's the first question. That's the first question answered by the first objective. The objective is to determine whether the amount of sugar has an effect on the size. So if you achieve your objective, that will answer the research question, right? So what about number 2?
Prof,
Yeah,
Neo here.
Neo.
Is it okay to identify the amount of sugar?
Okay, to identify the amount of sugar. Right, let's see what's written here. Okay, right. So both got it right. To determine whether the amount of sugar has an effect on breast size, and to identify the optimum amount of sugar which gives the biggest loaf. All right. So you see how they are very much related. Research question objectives. If you do your research question properly, you should not have any problem in putting your objective in the developing your objectives. Okay, and must be related. Now, even if I close the research question, I ask you to find out what is the research question. If you know the objectives, then you should be able to rewrite the research question. Okay, that means you do not know research question, but you see the objective. Oh, what is your objective research? Then the guy will say, okay, my objective is to do this. Then from there, you can actually redevelop reverse engineering what is the research question he's trying to answer, okay, based on the objective. So you must be able to do that. You must go back and forth. It must be mapped. All right. So that's why if we go back to this one, what are the research questions? What are the research objectives for each one of them? Can you see number 1? Anybody? To what extent does changes in hull form contribute towards the total cost of the ship? So what is the objective? What is the related objectives? Anybody?
Can I try
Yeah, go ahead.
to investigate the effect of changes in hull forms toward the total cost of a ship?
Okay, to investigate the
Effect on changes in hull forms.
okay, to investigate the effect of changes in hull form towards the total cost of the ship. Okay, good try, very good. Right. Anybody else has any suggestion to improve that, or to you don't agree with that? Anything? This one is to investigate the effect of changes in hull form towards the total cost of the ship. Anybody? Any suggestion how to make that into an objective? Hisham, any suggestion?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think should be the number one objectives from number 1 research question? The first one. To what extent here, which is this one?
Oh, the first one, I
Uh-huh.
think maybe the volume maybe the same, but you know there may be various shape. So I must determine what shape to choose. Shape. The shape
No.
the shape
I,
of
I,
the
no,
shape.
I want to know this one. What is the objective? If this is the research question, what is the objective that's
The
related,
the
associated with this?
objective is the adapt shape of the shape to
To
follow the change of the use.
okay, we don't understand it. Okay, we go for that.
Uh, I'm trying to. I can't unmute myself. I don't know. I'm trying to unmute myself. Not working.
No, no, it's working. It's okay. We can hear you. No problem.
Okay. Yeah. So for the first one, I believe if we want to extract the objective, it will be to analyze the contribution made by changes in hull forms towards total cost of a ship. That can be an objective. To analyze or to research on the contribution by contributions made by changes in hull forms towards the total cost of a ship.
Yeah, okay. Right, so you made something to analyze the contribution of changes in hull form towards the total cost. Previously, Amirul says something like to determine whether changes in hull form, determine the effect of changes in hull form towards the total cost of the ship. Anybody else has any other idea about?
Yeah, it could be, Prof, to assess and quantify the impact of variations in the whole forms on the total cost associated with the shipbuilding and operation.
Okay, you have added shipbuilding operation and so on. You're
Yeah.
talking about total cost of the ship only.
Yeah.
But it's okay. So you have something to identify?
To assess and quantify
To assess and quantify. Okay.
the impact.
Okay. So okay. We'll see later what I wrote, but here at least you have an idea how we can actually convert the research questions into the objectives. Yeah. So we can see number one, number two, the second one, how changes in welding temperature affect brittleness of the weld. I'll ask people who have not spoken. Who? Anybody? Hanif. Hanif.
Yes.
Yes, Hanif. So what do you think should be the objective for the second one here?
Okay. To determine the effect of welding temperature on the brittleness of the weld.
Okay, good. Anybody else has any idea? Neo, you want to say something?
You to identify correlation between changes in welding temperature and the brittleness of the weld.
Okay, all right. Okay, anybody else? Baratan?
To study about the brittleness of weld corresponding to its welding temperature.
Okay, good. Nurul Jannah? Nuraina, okay, Nuraina first.
To determine the optimum welding temperature that can affect the brittleness of the weld.
Okay, you see, you have added something to optimum thing. Whereas here, you just want to say, we just want to know how it affect. We don't know how this behavior between the welding temperature and brittleness. Not yet about optimum and so on. That could be another research question. Okay, what is the optimum welding temperature? Then you have your research question, your research objective just now. But for this particular one, it's only you want to know the changes. Very much like John's work. John's work, there are two research questions. One research question is to find whether, is there any effect? The sugar content in grain mass bread? Okay, the second one only they ask, what is the optimum one? So you are going ahead a little bit. Right, who else? Nuris.
To analyze the relationship between welding temperatures, effect, and the brittleness of the weld.
Okay, to analyze the brittleness. Okay, good. Right. So I think we go to number 3 now. So no, number 3, not our field. We go to number 4. What is the best method for estimating wave period from satellite altimetry data? Okay. Anybody who have not spoken yet before I call your name? Nurul Jannah.
To investigate the best method in estimating wave period.
Okay. To investigate, okay. Right. So to investigate the best method. Okay, Jannah. Right. Who else have not spoken? Dong, are you here?
Yeah, teacher.
Yeah. So what do you think should be the objective here? For number 4, yeah, the wave period satellite telemetry, this one. Okay, this is the research question. We want to convert that into research objectives. So what should be research objectives? Yeah.
The theoretical calculation method.
Sorry? Can you repeat that?
Theoretical calculation method and sorry, teacher.
No, you can't. Okay. So objective must always begin with 2, yeah? 2, and then there's a verb. It could be to investigate, to study, to whatever that you have mentioned just now. So it must be to something, because this is what is missing. So how to find that missing knowledge? You must be, so we have our objective. Our objective is to do what? Okay, so it must be to something. So like before this, people say to determine, yeah, and so on. So in this case, it is also to something. So what is the to something here? Chua?
Yes, Prof.
Yeah. What do you think should be to what?
To determine the most optimal method for estimating of wave period from satellite telemetry data.
Okay. So so determine the optimal method for estimating wave. Okay. So it's almost correct, but here you have changed the optimum to best to optimum. So it depends on your research question. If your research question say what is the optimum method, then your objective will have optimum method. Okay, but in this case, is it right best? Then you just say to determine best. Okay,
Okay,
so
Prof.
yeah, but if you say that optimum is important, you change your research question into optimum.
Okay.
Then okay, like that. So try to stick to as much as possible. Try to stick to the words inside the research question. Right. So try to stick to them. Don't go outside. If you go outside, if you want to go outside in your objectives, then you need to change your research question so that it has another terms, terminology or keywords that's important. All right. So now let's go to anybody else want to say something on this before I go on? I'm not going to do all of them, but because we need to go to move on. None? Okay.
Prof.
Yep.
Prof, just now when
Yes.
you say the verb that we use to state the research objective, the words such as determine, analyze, assess, calculate, can we use the common words like get, study, define, find?
Okay.
Is that okay?
We'll come to that shortly. Shortly, we'll come to
Okay.
this example, yeah? Right. So we go to there. Right. We have done this one. So we were doing this one just now. Now we move on. So we go to objective, a bit more explanation about objectives. So you have tried to do your objective. Now we go into understanding what objective is about. Objectives is what research is intended to accomplish, what new knowledge is being generated. Objective are generated from problem statement, research question. Achieving the objective means the research question and research problem are solved. Achievement objective will be checked at the end of the project and summarized in the conclusion chapter. So when you have achieved your objective, then you finish your research. And your conclusion, you say that objective 1 has been achieved. That means your research question has been answered and your research problem has been solved. Okay? So you say all this. Your methodology must be directly related to the way to achieve the objective. Well, later when you write your objective, your methodology, you must always relate it to the objectives. So yeah, your methodology must be how to achieve your objectives. Methodology is not independent of objective, but it must be related to objectives. Remember that. So later when we do a methodology, we're going to mention again. You always talk about how to achieve. Methodology is how to achieve your objectives. Right, so they should see again the scheme here: problem statement, purpose statement, research question, objective, methodology, and conclusion. So objective should be to find answers to research question. For example, okay, these are another 3 example. Okay, so you see, this is the objectives to establish the relationship between catamaran debial participating and its seakeeping performance. Okay, to develop a new method for vehicle stability assessment, and to determine the effect of changing fuel quality or breakdown. So you see, establish, to develop, to determine. So these are 3 words, like what Maurice asked just now. But one thing that is important is that the objectives must be smart. Compulsory must be smart. What do we mean by smart? Anybody have heard smart? Smart objectives? Anybody?
Yes, Prof.
Yeah, what is it?
Specific, measurable, achievable.
Okay.
Is
okay, don't worry, here it is. Okay, it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic time. All right, so it details exactly what needs to be done. It must be exactly specific. What are the keywords, okay? And what is need to be done. Measurable, it must be measurable at the end of the study when you come it. It must be something that we can say, have you achieved? What is it? The what must be there. What is the answer to that question? Okay, so because objective is to answer research question. So what is it? Achievable must be within your capacity. Okay, within your capacity. We don't want, for example, want to our objective is to develop rocket to go to the sun. Must be or realistic within 2-3 years, and time within the period. Yeah. Okay, now we go about the words that Nuris asked just now. Number 1 is we do not use common words like to get, to find, okay, and so on. So those are the non-formal words. So we must use smart, formal words. And you see the words will be 2 kinds. One will be, we call it the non-smart words, and the other one will be the smart words. The non-smart words are investigate, study, explore, observe. Okay, this kind of word we do not use in objectives, but we use in goals. In goals, most of goals we say to investigate, because the investigate is very wide. The whole study is about investigation. The whole research is about investigation. You want to investigate, for example, John is investigating the effect of sugar amount on the size of bread. Yeah, that's investigation. But when he go to his objective, he cannot use investigation anymore. He needs to use the determine, or to identify, or to show, or to assess, to develop, this kind of words. No longer using investigate, to study. Yeah, John is studying the amount of sugar and so on. John is exploring the use of sugar, different amount of sugar amount. He is observing and so on. Yeah, that's in the goal, yes. But when you write in your objectives, you cannot use those words, because those words cannot be measured. They are not smart. Investigate is not specific, because you may investigate something, but until when? How are you going to measure you have done your investigation? Okay, so the ending for the investigation is not there. The ending for exploration, the ending for studying. It's not there. You cannot measure at the end. I have studied. You have studied that within 2 weeks or within 2 years or within 20 years. You keep on studying. But if you use determine, identify, derive, show, assess, develop, establish, correlate, and so on, then these are something that is specific. There must be a certain year that you end your determine and you give the result, which is what is it that you have determined? What is it that you have identified? So it must come up with a certain value, okay, certain thing, which we show the example later. Okay, so these are the smart words. Now let's see a few more example. Guidelines in writing the objectives. First objective must be written in number bulat. I keep mentioning this. It's very important because objectives are proper noun that we are going to refer. Objective 1, objective 2, objective 5 is all proper noun that we have to refer later. Okay, I keep saying this. Please, when we have done this in class, we have mentioned this many times and so on. I don't want to see inside your proposal, inside your assignments, you do something which is different. You don't use the numbered bullets, and some students really do that. So as if I sometimes write on the proposal, you have written you have written your proposal or your assignment as if that you have not attended class. Okay, so please please go through these notes and really understand what I've been saying and so on, so that I don't need to write that on your assignment. Okay, so follow step by step. All right, so for example, people still use investigation, people still use non-number bullets and so on. Whereas it's very clear from this note that this must be the way to do it. For PhD level, write 3 to 5 objectives. We don't want to see people write 6 objectives or 1 objective for PhD. How come? For master's level, 2 or 3. Okay, if you write 5 objectives for masters, it is illogical, It's still, you cannot do masters with 5 objectives. Right? Here are some guidelines in research objective. Okay. Number 1 must be specific, measurable. The smart thing. Okay. Ask yourself, can the achievement of this objective be measured or assessed at the end of the study? So that's why we cannot use investigate, explore, study, which are very broad and open-ended and general. They are neither specific nor measurable. You cannot measure properly the achievement. So, objective should be about finding new knowledge, method, procedures, relationship, the unknown, the knowledge gap. So, you cannot, for example, investigate new knowledge. We want to find that new knowledge. Okay, your investigation is at the end of it, you are going to get the new knowledge, right? But you don't investigate the new knowledge. Okay, so you do not investigate the new method. You do not investigate new procedure, new relationship, and so on. Okay, but you want to determine it, you want to assess it, you want to identify it. Yes. So the whole process is investigation and study. Yes, but specifically, you are going to determine, assess, develop, establish, obtain, identify. So that's why you see here, the 2 is important. Okay, and then you have determine, the verb, and this is the knowledge, the unknown. So this unknown is the one that we get from the RQ, research question. RQ is research question, yeah? So if this is research objective, RO. Sometimes I mention RO means research objective, RQ research question. So RO and RQ must be related. So the research question, from research question, we know what is the knowledge that is missing. For in this case, it is the effect of something. The thing that people do not know is the most suitable method. People that do not know is the feasibility of something. People do not know the relationship between something. People do not know what's a new procedure for something. So these are the unknown, the research questions. And from there, we need to identify, we need to determine, we need to assess, we need to establish, we need to develop, we need to derive. Okay, so clearly the above objectives are specific and measurable. The objective or otherwise can easily be determined at the end of the study. Okay. Objectives should not involve tasks or activities which are part of methodology. For example, to analyze. Some of you mentioned just now, to analyze. Analyze is a process to do. We analyze something. Okay, so we don't use that as part of our objective. We analyze that to get what? What is the new knowledge that you want to get? So that is the one that should be. We analyze something, okay, to know something. So forget about the analyze. Just to know something. What is it? To get something, yeah? To get the knowledge. So to conduct CFD analysis, to carry out experiment, to construct something and so on, all this should not be written as objective. Okay. So these are not objective. These are work that you are going to do inside your methodology. In your methodology, yes, you say you need to do this experiment, you want to do the CFD analysis, you need to analyze the data and so on, and you need to construct the rig. Yeah, those are the methodology parts, not objective of your research. Your research is not to do that. Okay, so even to validate, okay, to validate, some people use validate, yeah, they conduct a CFD, so they want to validate. Validate is not supposed to be part of the objective, because that is again part of CFD analysis. It's a methodology, because you cannot do your research if you do not validate. So that's methodology. But the actual thing is you want to make sure that your CFD analysis is correct. So you do the validation, and that validation is to, but after that you use the tool to get something. And I hope you understand what I mean. Okay, finally, is it finally? Yeah, finally. Objective should be directly related to research question. In fact, should be mapped one-to-one, like what we did just now. The objective are mapped properly, written to properly written research question, the objective will most probably automatically fulfill the rules. Then you see only proper research, properly objectives that really developed from research question, we're going to get this. Yeah. As a check, when you have written the objective, work backward to check its suitability by trying to write the research question which is being answered by the objective. For example, if you have written your objective like those given in 1 to 3 above, 1 or 3 above, it is unlikely that you'll be able to derive meaningful research question from them. Okay, like this one, for example. To carry out experiment, can you think of what is the research question this objective trying to answer? Okay, maybe the research question is, what is I don't know how do we make, very difficult to make research question from here. Yeah, to conduct CFD analysis, to analyze. Is it because no one has analyzed? Okay, we don't know how to analyze, right? So very difficult, because they are not objectives. They are not supposed to be objectives. But if you go to this one, okay, you see the example, to determine the effect of. Do you think you can develop the research question from here? To go back, reverse engineering. So what is the effect of? Okay, number 2, what is the most suitable method? Okay, number 3, is it feasible? Number 4, what is the relationship? Number 5, there is no procedure, so what is the new procedure? So all these have, you can easily get research question from there. Okay, if you know the objective. So always you check your objective, that you can work backward to research questions, and they are related. The keywords should be related. Right. So this is, I think, done already. Okay. So we see that's the research question from John. So this is the objectives, and then how to achieve objective, and finally, you see how John concluded at the end of it, answer the research question and objective. Okay. So the conclusion there, number one, the research has shown that the amount of sugar has an effect on the size of bread. Okay, that answer question number one, that achieve objective number one. Number two, the question is what is the amount of sugar? So the answer is there. It's given in the conclusion. Okay. Right. So this is the answer to the question that you can relate to the directly to this one. In fact, number 3 is a bit different from what it was the original. But you see, number 1, number 2. You see that the keywords changes in half form towards total scholarship is exactly the same. Okay. So to what extent? So just to assess the extent. Okay. Number 2, since how the changes will affect, to determine the effect of changes in welding temperature. You see the keywords are very, very much repeated. Yeah, the same thing. Changes in welding temperature. Okay. This one is, this question was not there earlier. So to evaluate how effective is it. Then you evaluate the effectiveness. Okay. And then since this one is what is the best method, then you identify the best method. You see, so this is very important to make sure that research question objectives are met, they are related. Then you become very clear on this. What you seek to achieve become very clear. Otherwise, it become blur. If you write to assess, to investigate, to investigate, to study, and so on, become very blur. It's difficult for you to finally make proper methodology to relate to the objectives. Okay, we see some example here. How can we capture the wake flow pattern and particle contraction due to movement of human? Okay, to develop experimental setup. So how to capture? Okay, so I want to capture by to develop the experimental setup to validate. What is the effect of human working? To identify the effect. What is the effective ventilation strategy? To propose an effective ventilation strategy. Okay, another example. Research question. Do statistical feature of time domain, frequency domain are applicable to ELM model? How accurate is the model? To what extent does the generation factor improve? And you see the research question are again very much related to the objectives. Sorry, the objectives are related to research question. So this is to determine how accurate, to assess the accuracy. To what extent does the generation to assess the accuracy? Okay, here we see the way it is written. To get to objective 1, they say what is the current state, what is the research gap, what is the research question, and finally the objective. So you can see how it developed from the research gap, which is the problem statement. It goes to that. What's the fundamental parameter? So determine the fundamental parameters. The other one is how can this digital twin parameters fundamentally correlate a mental transport network and so on to identify the correlation of digital parameters. See, so how they develop a cascade from there. Here again, an example. What is the minimum film thickness form for a grease lubricated contact at different normal loads to derive the numerical model? What is the mechanism underlying friction to determine friction force? And what does grease lubricated to establish inverse relationship? What is the best ratio of filler particle to determine the best composition ratio? What level of dimensional accuracy to analyze the correlation effect? How much production volume, etc. So you see the keywords appears in both sides. And this one, will meditation be effective in reducing seafarers fatigue to determine the effectiveness? Will the medication be effective in reducing to determine the efficacy? Will the medication to determine the effectiveness of medication? Okay. So again, if you see here, to determine, to identify and to develop, here I'm supposed to ask you what to reverse into your research question from here. Maybe we skip that. Okay, we want to go to scope. Scope is many students mistook research methodology, the scope of research methodology for scope research. For example, some write the scope as follows. The scope of my work is literature review, experimental work, data analysis, computer programming, and writing up. So this is not scope of research. Okay, not scope of research. These are things that you do in your methodology. Later you're going to do this. Okay, so scope is actually we want to delimitation or focus or boundary of the research work. You define the area to be included or excluded from research. Essentially narrowing the study area. This also define the boundary for validity of the findings of the research. So we see example. Scope defines focus and boundary of your work. What are within and what are without, outside your study. For example, it says here, the study will involve full-scale experimental work and CFD analysis. Okay, or you may want to say, the study will involve numerical study using computer software, or you can use ANSYS Flow and so on. You can, you can explain that. Here, it's not really methodology yet, but you say the tool that you're going to use. Okay, so you explain here so that people know that, oh, you're not going to do something like laboratory experiment. You're going to do full-scale experiment. Okay, always think about what people say, what is included and what is excluded in your work, and why don't you study that? Why don't you do this? Yeah? So like this, for example, the second part example of what is included. The study covers South China Sea. Okay, the study covers Peninsular Malaysia. The study covers local Malaysian students. Study covers youth 18 to 25 years old. Because you say you study about youth, people say, how old are these youth? Youth is defined up to 40 years old. But you want to scope it. Scope it means of boundary it only to 18 to 25 years old. My study only covers diesel engines. Don't ask me about petrol engine. My studies only is about ship below 500 gross ton. My study only covers Malaysian-made cars. So don't ask me about Japanese or Chinese cars and so on. This is my scope. So this is very important for your study. You must define that. Otherwise, people say, no, your thing is not valid for China. Your China did something else. Then you say, no, I've already defined from the beginning that my research is only about Malaysian-made cars. So that's why I didn't mention anything about Chinese cars and Japanese cars and so on. Okay, so that's why it is important for you to declare from the beginning in chapter 1 the scope, your delimitation of your study. The other way of putting the delimitation is to say that will not involve. You will say that the study will not involve teachers in government school. Factories. I'm studying factories, but they say, why you use only 90 factories, whereas there are 1,000 factories in Johor Bahru, 1,000 factories, you use 90, it's not representative. Then you say, my study will not involve factories which are not registered. The registered one is only 150. I'm using 90, it's a lot already as my sample. Wow, okay. So all the 900 factories which are not registered, it's not in my scope, right? So don't ask about me, and I also, the validity of my work is also not valid for other factories which are not registered local authorities. Okay, so the study will not involve fuel modification. Okay, we do some work. Our work will not involve fuel modification. We only study the fuel as is. Okay, but we change other things. We modify the fuel. We do not study dual fuel ship. We do not study private hospital. We only cover public hospital and so on. So this is how you write your scope. So you must be clear about how your scope is to be written. Okay, so this is an example. Okay, scope, review fundamental, related to digital twin, complex simulation is only based on AIS data. The study will only cover simulation results, and only fundamental predictor-related safety and navigation will be included. So the other parameters are not included. Scope, Reynolds equation model. Okay, so you want to use, so we use Reynolds equation model, but we use the Herschel-Berkeley assumption. And then all the method, what are the assumptions, what language we are going to use in the programming, what is included inside the thermal effect. Okay, the last one here. Research. This research uses single camera to conduct the research. The mapping distance for research is only 100 meters. Accuracy is only in horizontal aspect. So these are the limitation of your study. You already put that so that people do not question beyond that. Okay. So there must be. You cannot do everything, yeah. So what are the things that is included? What is not included? That's why you need to explain that.
Okay. Sorry,
yeah.
about scope. Do we need to write in the number bullet as well?
No, not preferably in number bullet, but it's not something necessary as I, because sometimes people write in full sentence paragraph, this normal paragraph, prose paragraph. I think it's better like that rather than putting bullets like this. This is for presentation. They use this, but in actual work they will write in full paragraphs.
Okay. So this has to be included in the thesis and our proposal, isn't it?
In the proposal, yes, you need to have scope. People want to know what is your limitation.
What about the final thesis?
Yes, you must. You must. Okay, so that again, the validity of your results will depend on your scope. Because you study only this region, then you say that the ability is only this region, or this type of engine, or this type of equipment, and so on.
Thank you.
Okay, finally, for your proposal, you need to have significance. At the end of it, at the end of the first chapter, the significance. Significance explain the practical use or benefit of your work. Describe how the outcome of your project can help the target group, such as the industry, the designer, the manufacturer, the rakyat, people, the government, okay, the community, etc. What can they make use of your final results later? How will it contribute, okay, to them? So not necessarily exactly you are going to solve the problem, okay? Maybe your work will alleviate a little bit or will contribute a little bit towards which field, which area, okay, which is the real practical area that you need to mention. You are going to study very detailed, maybe something about ions and so on. So that's your study. You're doing some fundamental study, but you want to say that that's going to contribute towards some corrosion study, and finally it will increase because corrosion has been a big problem for certain part of the industry and so on. So the industry will benefit from this work, something like that. Okay. So for example, the outcome of the project will enable cars to have less cabin noise. The technique developed can be used by the farming machinery designers to improve the life of farmers. The result of the study will enable authority to define speed limits based on scientific data. So what the authority can use, or what the industry can use, what the people can use, what the community can use, okay, the government can use, and so on. So that is what we put in significance.
Sorry, Doctor, about significance. Is it similar to impact of study? Because some of the theses I read, they use impact of study.
Yeah. So that's why I say is it the outcome of the project with or can have, okay, impact of it on the target group. But sometimes you do not have direct impact. That's why we cannot write impact Exactly, yeah. But it will finally somebody will make use of your work to do something. So because sometimes if some project has direct impact, maybe the project involves some local community and so on. Yeah, finally the impact is going to help directly to the people, but not necessarily all project will do that. Right? So that's why we just say significance only. Significance.